Stormtrooper.
What's up, nerds? Welcome to another episode of the Multiverse Report. We are recapping the week's nerdy news from Wayne Manor to the Starfleet Academy and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me, as always, is Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, it looks like we're in full hype mode for the Batman because we haven't mentioned Spidey in like more than 24 hours, and all I'm seeing is bat stuff. So I think that's where we're pivoting on the Multiverse Report at this juncture.
We are in full Batman swing. You're right. This is the last episode of this show where at least one of us will have
Possibly
not seen
two.
the Batman. Possibly two. I know you're still making plans or still like looking at stuff. I have tickets purchased. I purchased them over a week ago. I'm going on Friday morning because Friday is my birthday. So there's like other plans happening. There's things that worked better to do in the afternoon. So I'm going to see the Batman at 9:45 in the morning on Friday. I absolutely cannot wait. What a way to start any day, specifically my birthday. Wake up, put my son on the bus to school, have fun at school, kid. I'm going to see a Batman movie. Goodbye.
Right. And when, like, what alternate reality are you sending your kid to school and going to see a Batman movie? It's great. You can't beat it.
Yeah, it's great. Exactly. So excited for it. I've clearly been excited for this movie for a long time. The trailers look great. Everything I hear Matt Reeves say, as we're going to get into a little bit of some quotes from Matt Reeves shortly here. Everything I hear him talk about makes me feel like it's in good hands, makes me feel like he knows the character and knows what he's doing. Everything I hear from interviews with the cast, very stellar. Tomorrow actually will be interesting. Tomorrow is when the review embargo is lifted. So anyone who has seen the Batman, press screenings, previews, anything like that, are free to write about it tomorrow. So tomorrow is when we're going to start seeing reviews, possible spoiler-filled reviews. So watch out there if you're trying to dodge spoilers for this movie, as I certainly am. I don't plan on reading any reviews at all. Of course, I want this movie to be great. It could be terrible. I don't know. Trailers make it look like it's not going to be terrible. And as far as Batman movies go, you got a lot of high highs and you got some real low lows. So it could just be one of the middle ones. Who knows? I'm very excited to find out.
For the record, I did just pull up the 9:45 at our local theater. There are now officially 7 seats sold.
Yeah, it was small. Yeah, when I was looking at other ones, because there's Thursday night ones that were a lot, very, very full, and there's ones later Friday that were very full. 9:45. It's early. It's a weekday still. Not surprised that there's not a lot of seats taken.
Yep. So that gives me hope for possibly going. So we'll play it by ear.
I'm going to say, hey, feel free to join us. Take Friday off. Come with me and my wife. Meet us there. We'll see the Batman together. Anyway, very excited. As a lot of people are. There's a crazy hype for this movie. And we're talking about it so much right now because our first story, not really a story, just kind of like a collection of quotes from Matt Reeves, the director of this movie, where he's talking about the Batman. He's been giving a lot of interviews lately. Obviously, like we said, hype. The promotional train is in full swing here, full steam ahead. And I took these from a couple different places. Most of them are from an interview he did with Collider. But there's some other like sequel-y related stuff that I pulled from somewhere else. I don't remember. Maybe it's all from Collider. I don't remember. It's been a while since I put these together. But he was asked, well, first of all, he has confirmed that sequel talks are already underway for the Batman, which is not really surprising because from all intents and purposes, Warner Brothers seems very happy with the final product for this. They are allowing it to be 3 hours long, which means they must like it quite a bit. I don't know. He's a great filmmaker. The cast is great. So, and it's Batman. It's literally the number one A-list character that Warner Brothers owns, or DC owns. But probably both of those.
Yeah.
The greater Warner Brothers catalog. I don't know that you could find another hero as popular as Batman or character as popular as Batman. So, not shocking that they're already talking about a sequel, but also promising that they're talking about a sequel.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's nowadays it's weird because it's going to make money, so they're going to greenlight a sequel. But if they're doing it before, like, if the review embargo is coming out tomorrow and they're dropping it today, they must be confident that what they're going to hear is good. So I think it bodes well for the film, and I think it bodes well for the franchise.
Yeah, I agree. And just to play, I mean, I am, again, very much on board for this film. I'm very excited about it. I hope that it's great. But to play devil's advocate a little bit against myself, Zack Snyder had already started filming his Justice League before Batman vs. Superman came out. And Batman vs. Superman not met with critical acclaim. There's a lot of people that enjoy that movie very much. Critically panned, that movie was. So, Warner Brothers have made mistakes in greenlighting things a little too early before, but, we'd like to think that they've learned from their mistakes and they're going off of actual merit. And who knows, if this movie tanks, if no one goes to see it, I think a lot of people are going to see this movie. I don't believe that it's going to tank at all. I think it's going to do very well. But who knows if no one goes to see it, or if it's terrible for some reason, then they could easily cancel this sequel that they're talking about. But they are talking about a sequel, which is great. And in this interview with Collider, he was asked about the future. And in general, he said, I mean, look, you don't make number one as if there's going to be a number two. You have to make number one as if you're swinging for the fences, and it has to be a movie that stands and lives on its own. I love that quote. I love it. Because there's been many problems with studios, not just Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers obviously tried to play catch up with the MCU, with what Marvel was doing and Disney was doing. Didn't really work that well for them when they were in that mode of like, we got to get there. We got to get our own Avengers going or whatever. It didn't really work because they were clearly rushing, and we all felt that. But there's been other studios that have done that. Like, oh, we're going to make this one and it's going to explode into this like universe. It doesn't always work. So the fact that exactly, yeah. The fact that he has made a movie that stands on its own, if there is no sequel, we can watch this movie and not be like teased for an ending, which I'm very excited about. It means he was throwing all of his eggs into this one basket of this film and making just the best movie that he can make without thinking about a sequel already, which I think is great. And that's how Christopher Nolan made his Batman trilogy too. He just
I was going to say it was nice. Like, yes, it was Batman Begins and then Dark Knight Rises, and like he almost took it as if Batman Begins could have been its own thing, and you ended it and it was like, okay, that's a full movie. Dark Knight Rises, same, or Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, same deal. Like, Dark Knight Rises kind of put a little bit more of a bow on things, but like Dark Knight, that was a standalone. It is what it is.
Yeah, and like the end of Dark Knight, he's riding off. He's taking the blame for the murders. He's riding off into the escaping the police. That could be seen as like it's not really a cliffhanger. It's like an ambiguous kind of ending.
Right.
If they never made a sequel to that movie, that is a cool ending to that movie for sure. Like,
it's the Hulk goes off. It's the Hulk walking off into the sunset.
Exactly. And even Batman Begins, and then they're on the top of the police headquarters, and Gordon flips over that Joker card, or Batman flips over the Joker card. And again, that could be seen as a tease for what ended up coming, and it did provide some connectivity into the Dark Knight. But if Batman Begins tanked and they never made a Dark Knight, then that's still just a cool little like fan tease, like, oh, this Batman's going to go on and do all these things, like we don't. But anyway.
Yeah.
So there may be like Easter eggs and teases in this movie, but like the fact that he went in going like, nope, we're just gonna make one movie. We're not going to try to make a world or a trilogy. I love it. So the follow-up question to that was whether or not, because of the tone of this movie, as we've seen from the trailers, seems very like grounded, seems kind of like gritty, a realistic take. And Matt Reeves has said that he's kind of gone for a more realistic-ish take, like more towards Christopher Nolan than Zack Snyder or Tim Burton. He's gone for a more realistic, grounded take. Grounded is the word that he seems to enjoy using quite a bit for this world. And this interview was saying, the interviewer asked him, because it's such a grounded world, I have to ask you, in your mind, do other heroes exist in this world? Does Superman exist somewhere in your Batman universe? Not and he specifies, he's like, I'm not saying that I think Superman should be in a sequel to this movie. I'm saying, but just in your head, is he out there somewhere?
Right.
In your plans for this universe, does he exist? Is he there? And Matt Reeves responded by saying, well, it's a high wire act to do any Batman movie, right? Because the character's been around for 80 years. Everyone has their own version in their head, and there have been great movies. The last thing I wanted to do was come in there and feel like I had to do something with the highest degree of difficulty and then also find ways that it connects to everything else. I think it's enough to try to just do a Batverse, to do a Batman movie, and that's where this begins. I suppose it's not impossible to believe that somewhere down the line they could connect to something else, but that was not my interest in this. It was not my interest in what we would do in follow-ups at the moment either. There are a lot of great characters in the Gotham world, so the idea of leaning into that, that's really my interest right now. We should be so lucky that this is a world that people embrace, that they say, oh my God, we want to see what would happen when those things collide, meaning like other characters.
Right.
I think if that challenge ever presents itself, it would be an exciting one to explore, but I'd have to try and do it through this lens, meaning the lens of his movie, the lens of his grounded reality take on these characters.
So that bodes well in the grand scheme of things of, I get people love Justice League stuff. I get they have an established Justice League, cast and everything in the DCEU. But for him to, in Reeves's head, for him to take this back down to street level and say, listen, we're talking about Gotham here. We're not talking about the greater, whether or not Themyscira exists or, Aquaman's off there, in the immortal words of Peacemaker, effing fish. We don't have to worry about any of that. We can look at this as a closed set in Gotham. Yeah. But with the potential later for him to do what he wants to if it fits the story, which I think should help whatever Reeves' vision. I think that should help a lot of letting him be able to be the one that brings things in instead of execs at Warner or whoever saying, oh no, you've got to make sure that Henry Cavill shows up in the Clark Kent costume just walking around Mr. Gotham for some reason. Like it definitely, I'm looking forward to the fact that they're letting him have this more myopic view of it rather than trying to tie it into everything. And maybe you get a little more Bat Family from that. Exactly.
Thank you for tying it into what I was about to say.
It's almost like we've done this before, Mike.
That was a really, really long quote that I just read, or like kind of amalgamation of quotes from this interview. My favorite part of that whole thing is when he said, I think it's enough to try to do a Batverse.
Yep.
And then he like pauses and kind of corrects himself, a Batman movie.
Right.
It's like, and I gotta say, from the beginning, once the DCEU kind of started fumbling, Batman vs Superman, not what it should have been, in my opinion. Justice League, not what it should have been. I started thinking like, man, I get that Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy had just wrapped. Like Dark Knight Rises came out. I think Man of Steel came out like the next year or something. Like it was soon that Man of Steel came. Like they were ready to go. Like we got to let Nolan finish his trilogy and not interrupt what he was doing. But once it's over, we're starting our own thing. And Superman, obviously, it makes perfect sense that Superman's going to be the first movie in a DCEU, of course. So they start with Man of Steel.
You had two options. It was going to be Superman or Batman. Those are your two options.
Right. And I think they said we need to give Batman a break and to focus on Superman. And I think it was very smart for them to focus on Superman. But I also think they should have said, screw that. We're starting another Batman reboot right now. And what they should have done is done a trilogy of, whether it was Affleck or somebody else, they should have done a Batverse. Because as Matt Reeves says, there's so many characters in Batman, villains, sidekicks, side characters, whatever you want to call them, allies versus villains. There's so many characters, a huge fleshed out world of Gotham City that they could have built a trilogy around and then have those characters meet up. I mean, that's the whole, like we mentioned rushing. Everyone says, yeah, they rushed into it. a Superman that we had only seen in one other movie is fighting a Batman that we're just meeting in this movie. Like, we don't care about either of these characters, and we don't care that they're fighting. Like, that's a big gripe, right? So,
well, and it's funny that was always a gripe too, because everyone always bitches about these characters, and it's like, the Spider-Man, the Batman, the Superman, the anybody that's been around since time, and everyone's always heard the origin story. Like, everybody bitches that we always keep getting reboots of this origin story,
right? Yeah.
And then also they complain when we throw something like that out, and in this case, it totally, like, I was with them on this one of like, we don't care.
But as Tom Holland's Spider-Man proved, and as most likely this new Batman movie is going to prove, you can reboot a franchise without doing an origin story.
Yeah.
Right.
Now the $10 million question though, on your bingo card for the Batman, is there a space for seeing the alley or seeing the pearls or something about his parents' death?
I mean, there's a space for it. I would be shocked if they do not reference it at all.
Yeah.
Because there's a chance that this is somebody's first Batman movie, right?
But like, up until this Spider-Man, we didn't even get an Uncle Ben reference anywhere.
No, I agree. I understand that. I know, but there's also the third movie in his trilogy. So okay. So I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah.
I do not think in any way, shape, or form are we going to get a flashback or a reenactment or a description of what happened in that alley. I don't think we're going to see the pearls. I don't think we're going to see the gunshot. I don't think we're going to see any of that.
Yep.
I do think maybe we see a newspaper hang on a wall, Wayne's murdered, or something like that.
Right.
I think we get like a reference or a nod to the fact that his parents are dead, and that's why he's doing this. But I think it's going to be, yes, highest level, it's one line of dialogue that Alfred says to him, like, when your parents died, I never thought this is what would happen to you. Something like that. I do not think we get a flashback. I think that Matt Reeves has been very upfront about saying this is not an origin story. It's like his second year as Batman. It's not an origin story. We're not going to see the pearls break again. And I'm actually like, I'm wondering, there's only one way for me to do this, really, which is to watch every Batman movie ever, and I don't want to do that.
You're running out of time to do that, Mike.
No, well, I am watching some of them. I'm planning on watching at least 4 this week. I'm watching Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Begins, and The Dark Knight. Those are my top 4 live action. Yeah. As far as live action goes, if we're talking animation, then you got to squeeze in Lego Batman and Batman Mask of the Phantasm. But live action, those are the top 4 for me. So I'm watching those 4. I'm really curious as to actually how many movies do we actually see that? Because I know it feels like we see it in every movie. I don't think we see it in every single movie.
Right.
We do see it in Batman. I don't think we see it in Batman Returns. I do think we see a flashback in Forever, from my memory. I don't know about Batman and Robin because I haven't seen it in so long because it's terrible. Definitely see it in Batman Begins.
Yep.
I don't think they do it in Dark Knight because we just saw it in Batman Begins.
Right. I think any of the direct sequels were okay.
Yeah.
Like, they don't.
But then we do get it in BVS, Batman vs. Superman. Yep. So it definitely feels like we get it a lot.
Every time we get a new Batman, we get to see it.
It seems like we get it, yes, at least once. Exactly. So, I don't know. I also want to know, I would love to know if he says, I'm Batman in every movie. Because I don't think he does, but he says it a lot. Clearly. But I don't know. He definitely says it in Batman. He says it in Batman Begins. I don't think Affleck ever said it. But I could be wrong. But I don't think he does.
I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to rewatch the Snyder Cut. Because I don't have 4 hours to figure out whether or not he did.
Yeah. So I don't think he did. But anyway, that's beside the point. Why was I talking about that? The one I'm going to rewatch? No, I don't think we're going to get the alley scene in the Batman. I think it's going to be touched upon, but we'll move forward. And I guess we're talking about like sequels, and we're talking about like other heroes and stuff like that. I like the differential here between Matt Reeves and Christopher Nolan. Was Christopher Nolan said, no, there are no other heroes that exist. Otherwise, what he's doing isn't special. Like, he needs to be the only one that's doing this. Because if he's not, then who cares? And that's a decent point to make, I think, especially for like a world like Nolan's, which was so grounded and so gritty. Matt Reeves is saying it's grounded and it's realistic, but I'm open to that happening. I think he said, I didn't write this down, but he said something like, if Superman was to appear suddenly in this universe, people would be shocked, like they were in Man of Steel. Really like, whoa, this is something we've never seen before. Right. But he's still open to it. He's also said that it's possible. Someone asked him about if he would ever do a villain like Mr. Freeze. And he said that, Mr. Freeze is definitely more unrealistic, but he would be open to the challenge of figuring out a way to make that work in his view. So he's definitely open to like some of the more wilder characters, right, which I think is very exciting.
Well, and from that vein too, he may have a different take on him, because look at what what we've seen from the trailers that he's doing with the Riddler, compared to the classic,
Right.
I'm pretty sure he's not going to show up in a green bowler hat.
Yeah.
Just
maybe in the sequel. Maybe in the sequel.
Right. But just from what we've seen, it's like he's taking a different tact on it, and I kind of like it. So.
Right. But yeah, anyway, bringing it all back to him doing a Batverse makes me very excited, because that does to me say that he has these characters in mind, whether he's talking about Robin, whether he's talking about I really hope he's talking about Robin, but whether he's talking about Robin, whether he's talking about like Leslie Tompkins or Barbara Gordon, like his version, because he doesn't have to contend with what they're doing in the DCU. Like, it rumored that Dick Grayson's going to be cast in Batgirl. He doesn't have to care about that. He can do his own version of Dick Grayson. He can do his own version of Barbara Gordon. He doesn't have to worry about other things that are happening. So, I am very interested to see if there's going to be a Joker reference or something, because in at least 2 of the trailers, we show him interacting with a gang of kids that are all wearing clown makeup. And what does that mean? Right. So, like, what's going on there? I need to know. Yeah. I need to know, Matt Reeves. And I will know at 9:45 in the morning on Friday.
Oh, no.
I'm very, very excited.
You'll know at 12:45 in the afternoon, because this thing is almost 3 hours long.
It's almost 3 hours long. So, yeah. Can we bring back, this is like old man Mike talking, but if you're going to make a movie that's 3 hours long, can you throw an intermission in there? Like, bring back the golden age of Hollywood and give us an intermission.
I need those lights dimming and the return to your seats.
Yeah. Just let us stretch our legs. Let's hit the bathroom, grab some snacks, and just settle back in for another 90 minutes.
Do you want your theaters to sell more concessions? Because that's how you get your theaters to sell more concessions.
Yeah, exactly. Because as it is now, I'm going to wake up and just dehydrate myself so I don't have to pee during a 3-hour Batman movie.
Yep, absolutely.
It's not healthy. I'm destroying my own health just so I can sit through an entire 3-hour movie. All right.
Matt Reeves would be proud of you, Mike.
I hope that he is. I hope that he's listening. He's a big fan of this show, isn't he?
I'm not putting money on it, but sure. Let's go with it.
Maybe someday. He'll come on. He'll be a guest.
It's our first guest. Second guest.
Second guest.
Yes.
We got to have more guests, Steve.
We do.
You and I have talked about
it.
And
I think, actually, we may have a guest coming up here.
I think next week we might have a guest, as we're transitioning into more space-related stories. Not Star Wars, but a good friend of ours, Matt Beseda, former employee of Disney World, big Disney fan, big Star Wars fan, big Marvel fan in general. Currently, right now, is at Galaxy's Edge, Star Wars land, for the layman, in Disney World, and having a wonderful time, sending Steve and I pictures of all his wonderful day, making us very jealous that he's flying the Millennium Falcon and we are not flying the Millennium Falcon.
Right, he's on Rise of the Resistance, and we're sitting up here in the snow.
Yeah, exactly. So we are fairly sure. We have not confirmed this with him at all, but might as well make an announcement here.
Yeah, it'll either be next week or a soon coming cast whenever we can work schedules out. But
an upcoming episode of this show, most likely next week, our friend Matt Beseda will be joining us to tell us all about his time at Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, what it's like. Give us the rundown, because he's the first person that I remember. I think he's the first person that I know that has been there. and I've seen YouTube videos of
Yep.
reviewers and things like that, but he's the first person in my life that I believe has been there that I can think of. Also, tangentially related to this week was the quote unquote opening, but not real like for the public, but for like reviewers and influencers and things of the Halcyon Galactic Hotel or whatever that thing is called.
The Galactic Starcruiser?
The Galactic Starcruiser thing, yeah. And so we're going to start seeing reviews of that, or we have started seeing reviews of that. I have to say, personally, I saw some people on Instagram that were taking, posting stories and photos and stuff. It looks cool. It looks very cool. But what I need is a review from somebody that didn't go there for free. I need a review from someone that paid to go there. Tell me, was it worth $6,000 for you to take you and your family and not leave this thing except for 2 hours when you went to Galaxy's Edge? Was it worth it? Right. That's what I need to know. That's what I need to know.
And the initial even those people that went for free, the initial thoughts are relatively mixed on that. So it's
oh really? Yeah.
I saw a couple things come out that it's like they're taking the immersion down a notch. They're doing a couple other things that's like, all right, you're catering to an ultra niche audience, and yet you're doing things that would take them out of that ultra niche.
Oh, that's
audience.
Upsetting.
So
that's a bummer.
Yeah,
I saw the people that I was following. It seemed like there was like an R2 unit that was going around by itself that looked super cool, and there was a couple like there was like a Twi'lek and I can't remember what Greedo is. Rodian, and like a Rodian like walking around, but that was it. And I was like, yo, if I'm paying $6,000, I need that place crawling with droids.
Yep.
And crawling with aliens.
Yeah, this thing better be the Mos Eisley Cantina for that price.
Exactly. I need to feel like I'm in a cantina when I walk in. I need to feel like I'm either in Canto Bight or Mos Eisley somewhere. Like, crawling with droids. Give me... Just throw some metal plating on some people. Give me protocol droids all over the place. I get that it's probably expensive to run an actual R2 unit remotely or whatever that goes around and interacts with people, but you can dress up some people. Like, give me some protocol droids. Give me a gonk. Come on, throw a refrigerator on top of a little kid with his legs sticking out while I'm walking around. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, you're the mouse. You've got the cash. Like, make it happen.
Exactly. Make it happen. I've said it before. For that money, I need to feel like I'm actually in outer space.
Yep.
I'm actually talking to a Rodian. Like, otherwise, I'm never going to that thing. Sorry. And I'm the type of person that would go in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. When they announced that, I believe we texted. We're like, are we going? Yeah. Can we make this happen? We're going to this. And then the prices came out, and the same thing happened, but it was, hey, we're not going. We're not going to make this happen.
Nope.
So.
Not at all.
Speaking of things that may or may not be happening.
Great segue. This is a story/correction from what we talked about, or possible correction from something we talked about last week. Last week, we told you that Paramount, on an investors call, had J.J. Abrams announce a new Star Trek movie with the cast from the J.J. Abrams trilogy, or the Kelvin timeline, as it's known in the fandom, including Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Zoe Saldana. And that was great. We didn't know that was happening. That was like, that's super cool. They're bringing this cast back, this popular cast from a popular series of movies. That there was a lot of other like starts and stops with what was going to happen next with that cast, and it seemed like that they had abandoned that cast and they were going to move in a different direction. They've been doing stuff on Paramount Plus TV series and things like that, and maybe they weren't going to move forward with that movie. And next time we saw a Star Trek movie, it was probably going to be a new cast. And then no, they announced all these guys are coming back. But this week, the Hollywood Reporter responded to the announcement by saying that, in fact, Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, Simon Pegg, Carl Urban, Zoe Saldana, and John Cho were, quote-unquote, not aware that a new Star Trek film was going to be announced, nor did they have any idea that they were going to be listed as part of the sequel's cast. They were also very surprised at the announcement of a late 2022 start date for filming, and And they also went on to say that, so none of that original cast is signed on. There is no budget in place. And the studio has not actually greenlit the film in any way, shape, or form.
This totally makes sense.
So why? What?
Like, who goes on an investor call and announces all this? And then nothing comes of it?
Not only just announce it, have J.J. Abrams make the announcement.
Yeah.
He's the director / producer of those movies.
Yeah. And at this point, you'd think he'd have, like, he could just text Chris Pine and be like, hey, I'm announcing this. You might want to be aware. Like, tell the other guys.
Buckle up. Call your agent, because this is about to happen. Apparently, Chris Pine is actually in early negotiations to return in a 4th installment of this series. And he is said to be, quote unquote, the linchpin of the entire project. That's from the Hollywood Reporter article, where basically, if they don't get Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, they can't do whatever this actual script is, or this story that they have in mind for this film is. It wouldn't work without Chris Pine as Captain Kirk. So, do you think why do you think they did that? Were they like desperate to please their investors to such an extent that they called on one of the most powerful director producers in Hollywood currently to lie to them?
It's so weird because, like, it's 2022. News is instantaneous. Like, as soon as they announced that, I guarantee people were texting Pine and Quinto and Peg and everybody. And I'm sure Zoe Saldana looked down at her phone and was like, "They what? We're doing what?"
Yeah, she's in Gamora makeup filming Guardians of the Galaxy 3, being like, wait, what am I doing?
I gotta be where, when? Okay, whatever.
Yeah, that's a good point, Steve. In what universe are they not aware that they're even making this announcement? Like, how did... So someone at Paramount calls J.J. Abrams and they're like, hey, we're going to make this announcement. Does J.J. know that the cast knows or doesn't know?
Right. That's another good question.
To
what degree?
What did J.J. know and when did he know it?
Oh,
like,
God.
This is such a crazy thing to happen in 2022. Like, not even we heard we're not actually signed yet, but we're in talks.
Right.
Like,
Pine and Quinto had been in talks and, Peg wasn't or something. Like, I get that. I get the confusion. It's like, okay, we need the main core, and then we'll get everybody else as, like, it's going to be a complete wash if X, Y, and Z don't happen. So we'll get them locked down and then keep moving. But, like, to have nobody know... It's just weird.
It seems like they would at least just start conversations with them.
Yeah.
Or like it... I don't know, maybe the announcement should have been that we are looking at getting this original cast back.
Right.
Instead of we are doing this.
Right. We've got the original cast back. Just like, hey, we're going to reach out to the original cast and try and make a 4th film.
Right, but like, I feel like that was probably the initial thing, and then someone was like, we can't be that wishy-washy with investors. We need their money.
Right.
We have to make this, like, tell JJ that it's happening, and tell JJ to say this.
Yep.
So, I don't know, man. That's just so funny to me. Like, I read that, like, I think that came out the day after we did this show last week. It was like Monday morning. It was like, we don't know anything about it.
God.
And man, there's a late 2022 start date. They better sign those people right away, or this thing.
I was gonna say, after this point, there's 2 options that come out of this. This thing gets shelved and pushed, or these people get paid.
Yeah. Because like these, like
now there's just leverage. That's just pure leverage at this point.
I know.
Like, you want a 2022 start date? Just give me more zeros.
Yeah, and like not all. I don't know that all of these actors are on like the same level as far as being in demand or whatever, but like Chris Pine, Zoe Saldana, again, filming a Marvel movie right now. Zoe Saldana is in the two highest grossing movies of all time. She's in Avatar and she's in Avengers Endgame. Like,
she's in a good. She's got to be in a good chunk of the top 10.
Yeah, I think she probably is. Yeah, Zoe Saldana is high in demand. Chris Pine is a high in demand actor. Simon Pegg's no slouch. Carl Urban's no slouch. Zachary Quinto and John Cho, they do like TV and movies at the same time, but like they're all names. Like regardless of like hierarchy in the fame world, they're all name actors that have done big stuff. So you can't just assume they're going to sign on, especially when Zoe Saldana. I mean, we don't know. She's doing Guardians right now. We don't know her fate at the end of Guardians 3, but she might have more Marvel stuff on her plate. She might have more Avatar stuff on her plate.
Well, she's got at least four more of those movies somewhere.
Yeah, and who knows how much she's shot. So like, if they expect her to just be available in late 2022, that's a stretch. Paramount, come on, get it together. Yeah,
fun stuff.
Okay, so this is, before we move on to Marvel, is something that I meant to put in here and I didn't, and it's tangential because it's just something that I'm excited about and something I want to talk to you about because it connects our DC conversation to our Marvel conversation.
Okay.
And it all comes through the Instagram account of one Michael Keaton. I follow Michael Keaton on Instagram. I don't know if you do, but a couple days ago, he posted a picture. I don't believe with any caption at all, but he took a picture of his own shadow, and he was clearly wearing a Batman costume in that picture that he posted. Very exciting. Clearly, he's either doing reshoots for The Flash or he's doing. I don't know if The Flash is done filming. So he's either shooting The Flash or shooting Batgirl. I think he posted about being in Glasgow, which is where they're shooting Batgirl. So he is shooting Batgirl. And super cool that he is going to be actually Batman and not just Bruce Wayne. Like he is Batman in Batgirl, which I'm very excited about. As we've said before on this podcast, I think it's important that Batgirl has a Batman to be inspired by or whatever, or to be challenged by, either one. But then yesterday, either yesterday or this morning, I don't remember. My brain is crazy when it comes to time. He posted a picture of what looked like a studio lot, like he was walking into a studio and said, filming some Toomes stuff today, or something like that was the caption. Toomes meaning Adrian Toomes meaning Vulture. And this is not the first time that he has said he's filming Vulture stuff, because a few months ago or weeks ago, I don't know, but you and I talked about, he was on Jimmy Kimmel and he said, I'm filming some stuff tomorrow, some Vulture stuff.
Right.
But he hasn't been announced to be in anything.
No.
He wasn't in No Way Home. At that, when we first talked about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, we were like, maybe he's going to show up in No Way Home. Maybe it's a post-credit scene. No, it was not. Yeah. So what Vulture stuff is he filming right now? And I'm very excited that he's going to be Batman in the Batgirl movie, and that he posted that picture made me very excited. And I can't tell you how excited it made me, but leading from that DC excitement into this Marvel stuff, like he is still actively filming stuff as Toomes, and whether it's reshoots for Morbius, but we haven't seen that there's doing reshoots on Morbius.
He was definitely tied into Toomes in Morbius. He was tied into Toomes as Morbius, but he wasn't, like, you don't see the suit or anything, so it's like, all right, it's probably just Adrian Toomes being Adrian Toomes in that at this juncture.
Did they push Morbius so they could film more Michael Keaton stuff?
Right, which seems weird. But
what else is being filmed right now? Because I don't think that
Secret Invasion.
That's true. Yeah. Well, yeah, that's right. Because he's MCU, but he's also Sony. Yeah. I don't know. Like that's what's confusing. We're about to talk about Kraven the Hunter, but that's not filming yet.
Right. I don't think. Morbius is in the
you think
Sony
Morbius
Spider-Man universe, whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, we've assumed that Morbius is done, unless he's doing a post-credit scene or something for Morbius. But then what was he doing months ago when we talked about him being on Jimmy Kimmel?
So that's, I mean, the upcoming stuff, the only things that are really, it's not like he'd be in Ms. Marvel. It's not like he'd be in She-Hulk, maybe? I'm trying to think of things that are grounded.
But honestly, he could be in any of those things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what Marvel does.
That's true.
They throw wild cards at us all the time. So he could be, like, but he's not associated with any of those characters.
Right.
He could be in Secret Invasion, I guess, because we don't know anything about Secret Invasion.
Right. We do know it is filming, though.
Yeah, that's true.
There was a shot that leaked today, I think, of it filming. So.
Oh, is that true?
With a Rogers the Musical poster.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
I don't know if it was 100% confirmed, but I know I've seen some leaky leaks here and there. So
yeah. I mean, who knows? It could be a tease in one of those shows. Maybe the villain gets thrown into prison and he's in the same cell, or
right.
whatever. Like he's just there,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm excited. I love Michael Keaton. I think he's a great actor. I love him as Batman. I love him as Vulture. I love him in a lot of things. So I'll take Michael Keaton in any way that I can get him.
Oh yeah, Multiplicity.
Multiplicity is a great movie. Exactly. Mr. Mom.
Gonna pet a dolphin.
Anyway, that was my little side thing. Now we're moving on to an actual Marvel story regarding Sony's universe of Marvel characters, Spider-Man characters. It's funny that you and I talked about a story about how they were renaming their universe, and I don't remember what it is at all. We just keep calling it the Sony's Spider-Man thing. Anyway, Sony's making a Kraven the Hunter movie. We talked about a couple weeks ago that what's-his-face, Russell Crowe, has been cast.
Old what's-his-face.
I could not think of his name for a second there. Rumored to be Kraven's father. Now we have a actor named...
Fred Hechinger.
Fred Hechinger. I could not find his name on the little thing that I wrote down. Fred Hechinger has been cast as... Well, they haven't confirmed it.
Right.
In a supporting role has been cast in Kraven the Hunter. It is being heavily rumored that he's playing a character named Dmitry Shmerdakov, aka the Chameleon. The Chameleon, maybe a lesser known Spider-Man villain, but actually the first Spider-Man villain in Spider-Man #1, I believe, before once he got his own book after he was out of Amazing Fantasy.
Yep.
I believe the Chameleon was the first villain that he fought against,
and
somebody that can change their appearance and look like anybody else. He's been adapted in the cartoons and stuff, but we never really got
in the MCU.
Thank you. Yes, bringing it right there. Tell me where he was in the MCU, Steve.
So in whatever the middle one was, Homecoming.
Far From Home.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, the homies get me confused.
Yeah.
So in Far From Home, he was the I want to say bus monitor on the field trip.
Yeah, the SHIELD agent.
Yeah, the Russian SHIELD agent bus monitor that doesn't really talk and is very stoic and whatnot. That was confirmed as Dmitry Shmerdakov, the Chameleon.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he's there.
Well, he's there, but is it the same Dmitry Shmerdakov? Is this we've been told via the post-credit scene of No Way Home that the Sony universe is 100% a different universe than the MCU.
Yeah.
So it could be a different Dmitry Shmerdakov. I mean, yeah, he could just be looking like that guy, but then how is he in that other universe? I don't know. But anyway, yeah, Fred Hechinger playing the Chameleon, most likely. Who is also he's Kraven's half brother, half
brother, stepbrother, some family, familial relation somewhere.
Yeah, and we've heard before this movie is going to focus heavily on Kraven and his family. So that would fit in if they were like a half brother kind of situation. Who knows if he's going to actually be the Chameleon in this movie? If he's how big of a role they call it a supporting role that could kind of vary in size, I guess. Hechinger himself has appeared in HBO's White Lotus. He was also on the excellent Fear Street trilogy of horror movies from Netflix last year. And if you don't remember, Aaron Taylor Johnson has actually been cast as Kraven, so he'll be starring opposite Aaron Taylor Johnson, formerly Quicksilver, formerly Kick-Ass. And yeah, what do you think about this? Are you a Chameleon fan? Do you enjoy this casting? Do you like that we're not just getting a solo Chameleon movie and they're putting him in something else?
I mean, I half expected them to go with a solo Chameleon movie just by the way that Sony seems to do things. Maybe this is setting up the sequel to Kraven as Chameleon.
Yeah,
but,
maybe.
I mean, it's fine. Like, I get the whole, Kravinoff family and trying to tie it all together. And, sorry, the sound that makes it sound like I'm farting on air is not me. That's me moving my foot because it's broken.
I didn't hear anything.
Oh, I saw my mic spike, so I thought it picked it up.
Oh, okay.
I was like, that's going to sound bad on live.
Just go back, listeners, just go back and just really turn up your volume 10 seconds ago.
That's the problem with being able to look at the board too, is I'm seeing everything that hits. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's well, for one, who knows how well with the current events, how well a movie starring Russian family and situation is going to. We may see that get pushed a little more.
That is a good point that I never thought of. Wow.
I just kind of thought about that. I'm like, also, official Multiverse Report plug for the people of Ukraine, because this is a situation that we should not be in 2022.
Yep. Yeah, for sure.
But Hechinger, Chameleon, Shmerdakov, and Kravinoff, and the whole family are all tied, like deep Russian ties. I like the idea that they're adding Chameleon to the cast. I did not see any of White Lotus or Fear Street, so I have no familiarity with Hechinger. Seems like he's I looked him up before the cast, and he's only like 22. So
yeah, he's a young guy for sure.
Yeah, I'm curious where this will put the movie in the timeline, or if this is set a couple years back, or what they're going to do with it. So it's another one of these leaks that seems to add as many questions as it does any sort of answers.
Yeah, that's true for sure. And who knows? I feel like I did have something to say a second ago, and I don't remember what it was. So I guess we can probably move along. But yeah, Kraven the Hunter movie still happening, and we shall see more as it develops, I guess. Because it's definitely not filming yet, because they're still casting it.
Right.
So we got a while to go, and we'll see what Sony ends up doing with their Spider-Man universe. Moving on into some comic book talk, we got what I consider a huge announcement this week.
Absolutely.
From DC. Considering only a few weeks ago, we talked about James Tynion IV leaving the monthly Batman title, being taken over by Josh Williamson and Jorge Molina on art, writing the new Batman title. DC announced this week that the one and only Chip Zdarsky and Jorge Jimenez, who was the artist under James Tynion IV, are taking over the monthly Batman title this summer. So I don't know what's up there. I guess I am assuming that Josh Williamson just signed on for a certain amount of time. Like, I can't imagine that they are hiring him and then just booting him. I feel like it must have been that it was just you got this for 6 months, and then you got this for 6 months while we're courting Chip Zdarsky, basically. But anyway, the title was just taken over by Josh Williamson and Jorge Molina recently. And now I think July with Batman 125, I think is going to be the first issue.
Yep, 125, and the arc is going to be called Failsafe.
Failsafe, yes. For those of you who aren't familiar, Chip Zdarsky has been writing Daredevil for Marvel for years now. He started as an artist. I always forget he started as an artist, because I'm more familiar with him as a writer. But
he actually worked with Fraction on
Sex Criminals.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, he's got their indie highly acclaimed run or series called Sex Criminals, which I've heard is incredible, but I haven't read yet.
Same deal with his standalone Stillwater. Stillwater, I've heard nothing but very good things about as well. So.
That's right. I forgot about Stillwater. He's also got a series called Captara, which he did a volume of through an indie, and he's doing a second volume of via Substack right now. More on that in a moment. But Chip Zdarsky he's written Batman before. He's currently got a Batman book on the shelves called Batman the Night. It's a mini-series for DC's Black Label. He's also written stories in Batman Urban Legends anthology and Batman Black and White anthology. He's also written a Justice League, at least one Justice League story. He's also written Spider-Man life story for Marvel, at the aforementioned Sex Criminals, the Captara that we talked about. So this dude is no slouch. If you're not familiar with Chip Zdarsky, you should know he knows his stuff. His Daredevil run has been highly acclaimed. I still haven't read any of it, but I keep hearing how incredible it is. He's now moved on to have Elektra step into the role of Daredevil, and now she's getting her own series that he's writing also. So he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of plates spinning at the same time. Definitely a great writer.
I can say that Spider-Man life story was awesome.
It was awesome.
And then my personal, one of my just personal favorites of his was the X-Men versus Fantastic Four.
Ooh, I didn't read that.
So all of the mutants live on Krakoa except for one, and that one is Franklin. So
Oh.
it's a 4-issue miniseries about how the interactions of the X-Men and the Four go in the current Krakoa age. So nice little read.
Very interesting.
I'll throw it on your
Very
stack.
Yeah, please do. Please do. The first arc, as you just mentioned, Steve, is called Fail Safe. It's described it's said that Fail Safe will follow Bruce Wayne as he is having nightmares of a future he can't stop. There is a chance he might not make it to that future, as a startling enemy from Batman's past has one relentless goal to end the Batman, no matter what it takes. While Zdarsky won't reveal whether that startling enemy is a new or established character, the threat the arc poses will put Bruce to the test. So he's clearly got plans in place for this. Something that I'm very excited about is that this arc will heavily feature Tim Drake as Robin. Zdarsky said that in the last few years of Batman, whether it was on Tom King's long run, which basically focused on Batman as a solo hero, but obviously he worked a lot with Catwoman in that run. They got almost got married and they were in love, and there was a whole basically Catwoman was his partner in that entire run, more or less. But really was not a whole lot of Robin heavy stuff. The Tinian run was great, and there was a lot of Bat family in that run, but there was never any just partner sidekick kind of stuff. Zdarsky is saying that he wants to go and really kind of lean into the Batman and Robin aspect of these two characters as a partnership, and he is selecting Tim Drake, Robin number 3. For those of you who don't know, there are 4 to 5 canonical Robins. I believe Stephanie is currently considered canon. I know she wasn't for a while, but and that's a lot of Robins. That's a lot to keep track of. And as you can imagine, some of these characters have gone on to have their own personas. Dick Grayson is Nightwing. Jason Todd is Red Hood. Tim Drake was called Red Robin for a while, and now he's just kind of Robin. But when Damian and Stephanie Brown, who was a character called Spoiler, then was Robin, then was Batgirl, and now is back to being Spoiler, has her own identity. Damian Wayne, Bruce Wayne's biological son, once he came in as Robin, he was has been Robin pretty much ever since, but now he's got his own book, and he's not working with Batman. He still calls himself Robin, but he's elsewhere. But all of those characters having their own identities, and Tim Drake only having Robin, really kind of forced Tim Drake into the periphery of the Bat family. Much to the chagrin of many 90s kids who grew up with Tim as their Robin. I'm a huge fan of Tim Drake. I love that character. I'm so excited he's coming back. Very glad that Chip has chosen him to be the focus of, or the main sidekick of this arc. Or this run. Very excited. Quote from Chip Zdarsky said, "I'm really just writing the Batman book that I want to read. A dark book with wild action, huge stakes, and hopefully a lot of fun." That sounds incredible.
Yeah, if I remember right, he quoted something similar when he took over Daredevil, so we're in for a ride.
Yeah, and honestly, because I know what he's done with Daredevil, which is to not shelve Matt Murdock, but give him something else to do while Elektra takes center stage.
Oh, I'm really interested. If you haven't read it, you don't even know that half of it.
Right, I'm sure that I don't. I'm sure I don't.
I don't want to spoil anything for you because it's a fantastic run. But it is a ride with what he does with the Murdoch character, with the Daredevil character, with all the periphery. So I think, like you're talking about, that it's going to be a big old Bat family.
Yeah.
Hey, how do you do? And things are going to get weird.
I think there's going to be a lot of twists and turns, and I'm excited to see what they are. I think there's going to be a lot of stuff that isn't expected, and to kind of push the character into new territory, which I always like. And I thought James Tynion did that as well. I know it got mixed. It was kind of getting mixed reviews, I believe, but I really liked what Tynion was doing. He was introducing a lot of new characters, kind of challenging what was established in the Batman books. And I think Chip's going to do that, but in a kind of a different way, in his own way. And I'm very excited about that because he's such a great writer. What I did mention, I've been sitting on this news for a long time. Finally, I can say it. Chip Zdarsky, we mentioned, is currently putting out a volume 2 of his series Captara through Substack, as an email subscription service that has recently pivoted to focus on a lot of digital comic books. And Chip Zdarsky is using that service to put out this volume 2 of his creator-owned Captara. The coloring assistant on this volume 2 of Captara is none other than my friend and partner in my comic book, The Amazing Shakes, and former guest of this podcast, Riley McFarlane, has been working on Chip Zdarsky's Captara Volume 2 via Substack. And just this week, via Substack, it was kind of like a secondary story or a subplot story, a mini series, you should say, a mini issue came out, written by the main artist. It's like Chip didn't write it, but it's like canonical to like the series, or like again, an offshoot. So it was written by the main artist that normally does the main series art, and the art for it was handled 100% by Riley McFarlane. So definitely check that out if you're interested in anything that we've been saying about Chip Zdarsky or comic books, or my good friend and partner Riley McFarlane. So that's very exciting. I flew through my own ceiling when she told me that she was working on a Chip Zdarsky book. And it's just the coolest thing ever. Just the coolest thing ever. So
pretty awesome.
Who knows? Maybe Jorge Jimenez gets the flu and she gets called up to the big leagues to work on Batman.
She's in AAA now. She's making it to the pros at some point here.
I mean, knowing the way that industry works, I'm sure that's probably not going to happen, but you never know.
Hey.
One step closer to working on a Batman book. So congratulations, Riley, on working on a Chip Zdarsky book with Captara Volume 2. That's super exciting.
Yeah, now we can add that to the list of our guests' accomplishments.
Yes, for sure.
Seeing right now that whole list is just whatever Riley's done.
Yeah, because we had one guest. We'll make sure to grill Matt about his accomplishments when he's on next week to talk about Star Wars Land. Marvel also announced very recently, I think just today or yesterday, that they are going to do a Mandalorian miniseries coming out in June. Don't get too excited. It's an 8-issue miniseries, which is an adaptation of the show's first season. So it's not a new story, but I can certainly imagine that this could lead to something else, either tales of him before the show started or tales of him in between seasons or whatever. Like, there's definitely room for more Mandalorian stories than what we're getting in the show, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a tale to tell after he handed Grogu off to Luke and said, "Here, take my little buddy. I'm gonna go, scour the galaxy for the apparently just 2 surviving people of the covert."
Yeah, I mean, and we saw him on one mission taking that guy's head, so like he clearly was doing work,
right?
So like every issue or every miniseries could just be like one job, and that doesn't have to take a ton of time, and it still leaves Disney Plus tons of room to tell stories about him in their own way.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you like Mandalorian content. I think this book is going to be great. It's got Rodney Barnes doing the writing with Jorge Yante on art, I believe. I think that's how you say his name. I might be wrong, but
if nothing else, Book of Boba Fett proved that we like the Mandalorian.
Yes, Book of Boba Fett confirmed what Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 already told us. We like this character and want more of him. So if you want more, buy those comic books, and maybe you'll get more stories in comic form.
That's true.
This week at your local comic book store, we got Action Comics number 1040. My God. Aquaman, not Aquaman, Aquaman number 1. Black Widow 14, Blue and Gold number 6. Carnage Forever number 1.
So much Carnage lately.
I gotta say,
I'm over Cletus.
You're over it? I gotta say, I'm not like crazy. I'm not crazy with the subtitle Forever. As a thing.
Well, they ran out Forever. all the absolutes, and
I know. Yeah.
Extreme, absolute, Absolute Carnage was really good. Like, go back and read that. but the rest of them, they just.
Yeah. I just don't get like. I feel like Batman Forever, the movie, was the first one that did that. And it just doesn't seem like. It seems like less of a subtitle and more of a like sign that you will hold up at a concert or something. Like if you went to see Batman live, you'd be like Batman Forever, or like, you know.
Oh god, the images in my head.
It just doesn't seem.
It's
It just never seems like it never seems like a good title for me, unless it's about like Carnage inserting himself in some kind of timeline where he's gonna live for, I don't know. If it's about immortality, great. Call it Carnage Forever. Call it Batman Forever. But like if it's just like, if it's not, then that's just a weird title. I don't understand.
It's false advertising.
False advertising, exactly. Anyway, Catwoman number 40, Deadly Class 51, Department of Truth number 16, Ghost Rider number 1, brand new Ghost Rider story with Johnny Blaze back in the saddle. House of Slaughter number 5. Steve, are you still reading House of Slaughter?
Not up on it, but yes.
Okay. I haven't been, but I was reading mixed things about it this week, that it's not as good as the main Something is Killing the Children storyline.
Yeah, I've only read 1 and 2, and after 1 and 2 I was very intrigued, but I heard kind of the same things you were, that it kind of it's losing the plot a little.
Yeah, or it's just like not as like you don't care about the characters quite as much.
Right,
but,
it's not quite as compelling, but
yeah. More to come. Human Target number 5 actually just got announced that it's getting a second quote unquote season of Human Target, which is very exciting. I Am Batman number 6, Philadelphia number 19, Monstrous number 37, Red Sonja number 6, Saga number 56. Steve, we didn't talk about Saga when it came back a couple weeks ago.
We completely missed
How did we
it.
not talk? Why did we miss Saga? We didn't talk about Saga coming back.
Probably because I'm still on volume 1.
I was going to say, I'm fine not talking about it in depth, because here's what I realized. I have the books. When I started buying Saga or reading Saga, I read them in like the big collected book, like the hardcover books that have like 25-ish issues in them or whatever, 20 issues or something. So I don't want to all of a sudden switch to like the smaller, like, the trades, paperback trades or whatever. So I just have to wait now until 20 more issues to get book 4 or whatever. So for a while I was like, I got to hurry up and read Saga so I can be up to speed when it comes back. And I was like, wait, no, I don't, because I'm going to buy it in this book collective form. So I have like another year, at least minimally, year or year and a half to wait before we get a hardcover book. Of Saga.
I definitely made that mistake a couple of times when I got kind of back into pulling comics and had done a bunch of collecteds that I was reading, and then switched to floppies, and I just, every one of those that I did that with, I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
It's just like, I have, the Kieran Gillen run of Vader. I have the first volume in a hardback, like omnibus, and then the next was trades because the hardback wasn't out, and then the last 4 I have in floppy. And I was like, what? Why did I do this?
Why?
Now I just want another big book to put next to my other big book, and I'm not going to buy everything all over again, so...
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, Saga's back. We're all excited, but we don't know what's going on in it, and we don't want to know what's going on until a while from now.
You had me at Brian K. Vaughan.
Exactly. Wonder Woman Evolution number 4 and X Deaths of Wolverine number 3. That's what's going on at your local comic book store, plus so much more. So go check it out for yourself. See what they got there. Moving on into one-shots, we do not have a TV show to talk about at the end of this end of this episode. For the first time in quite some time, we went from Hawkeye to Boba Fett to Peacemaker, and now we're out probably until Moon Knight starts at the end of March. So we got a whole month of not talking about anything at the end of the show. So we're doing one-shots, and we're saying goodbye. Steve's going to kick it off with one-shots. Take it away, Steve.
Yeah. Speaking of Disney Plus, Lyric Ross has been added to the cast of Ironheart for Disney Plus. Only the third announced cast member other than Dominique Thorne as Riri and Anthony Ramos, who is rumored to be the villain. We have no idea who that is, so we'll find out more when that happens. Ross is cast as the best friend of Riri Williams. No character name is announced.
Yeah, not much you can talk about when you don't know literally anything about the show whatsoever.
Right. I mean, the Ironheart banner is a little you could are they going to adapt a storyline? Are they just going to go with something new? What are they doing? So we'll see.
Who knows? Who knows? I mean, we do know that we're going to meet Riri Williams in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever that comes out later this year. So that may give us some more context as to what the show is going to be. But otherwise, who knows?
Right. I mean, heck, it
Nothing
may
really
just
to
be
talk
her and Shuri sitting there talking about how to make Wakandan tech better.
Yeah, she could be in it for 10 seconds. We don't know. And speaking of Marvel things that we can't really talk about too much, Aaron Pierre has joined the cast of Blade, the MCU debut of Blade that was announced, over 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
We haven't really had much movement on, except, spoiler alert, very mild spoiler alert for the post-credit scene of The Eternals. You hear Mahershala Ali's voice as Blade, I guess, at the end of that movie. I don't remember what he says. Like, be careful with that or something.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even.
It was something
really,
that was pretty cryptic and not pertinent to Blade, but it was definitely Mahershala Ali's voice.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, Aaron Pierre has joined the cast of Blade. No word on who he's playing, but Deadline, while reporting this story, referred to the role as, quote, one of the more highly coveted parts in Hollywood. So that tells me that it's either a really great role or a great script, or it's some kind of character that is going to go on to bigger and better things within the MCU or the Blade franchise, the new Blade franchise, whatever you want to call it. All else we know about Blade is going to be directed by Bassam Tariq with a script by Stacey Osei Kaffour, starring Mahershala Ali, and Delroy Lindo is the only other one that has been cast so far. So we got a cast of 3, much like Ironheart. That's all we know. Not much else, other than there's going to be vampires in it. That's all we got.
I mean, trying to think Blade villain. Like, would he be cast as Dracula? That would be...
Yeah, I don't know.
That would be one of the most highly coveted roles in Hollywood. Like...
Yeah, I guess.
I can't think of anybody else that Blade would be... Like, any other Blade villains that are, like, at that level.
Yeah, I don't know. Unless they're taking some other Marvel villain and making him a Blade villain, or making them a Blade villain. Do you think Marvel would really cast the character of Dracula, or would that like be too outside of their thing? Like, I know Dracula is public domain, so literally anybody could cast a Dracula, but like, is the name Dracula too distracting for the MCU?
I'm curious because they use him repeatedly in comics. Like the
Sure.
current Ben Percy run with Wolverine, he's interacting with him.
Is that true?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't realize that.
And Blade historically, I mean, he's a vampire hunter. That usually entails vampires making a statement.
Yeah. I mean, the Frankenstein monster is a character in DC Comics, so like I get that. That's like a thing. But also, again, public domain.
Right. So, yeah.
But I don't know, like, if you go to see a Marvel movie and they're talking about Dracula, though, is that like too like outside of their universe? It feels like a little.
Yeah, for the MCU, it does. It seems like a little, breaking a wall somewhere. But
who knows?
They've done stranger things and pulled it off. So
that's true. Wouldn't put it past them.
Speaking of other strange things that get pulled off all the time, James Gunn's music is back in the saddle because it has been officially confirmed that the soundtrack for Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will fit in the vein of the first 2 and all be from quote-unquote the Zune that Star-Lord is carrying around. There were some rumors earlier in the week that the movie or the music may come in a more updated version from post Endgame when Star-Lord is on Earth. James Gunn put out a tweet that said, nope, he didn't stay on Earth. He got the hell off of there as quick as he could, and all the music is from the Zune. So we're gonna be treated to another classic James Gunn score here.
I mean, that's fitting for the movie, right? Like, it would be weird if we got like, classic 70s and 80s rock from the first 2, and then the third one was like updated, current 2020 music or whatever. That would just be strange.
I'm with you there.
So yeah, I'm glad this. They got to stick to their own strengths. I feel like the soundtrack of those movies is something that people. I don't know, the style of that music and the style of the sound, I guess, of like the 70s and 80s is like kind of goes along with what those movies are about. So like changing it would just be too drastic, I think.
I would
And
concur.
our last one shot, our last story for this evening, something that I literally just read right before I came down to record this podcast, is that Bruce Campbell, the man himself, uh, lovable B-list actor, star of the Evil Dead franchise, good friends with director Sam Raimi, has filmed a scene for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Now, this is not something that is super shocking, considering that he has a small role in all of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies. So much so that it was rumored for a long time that Bruce Campbell was going to be Mysterio, that he was going to be Mysterio in like Spider-Man 4 or Spider-Man 5, when that was still a possibility of being directed by Sam Raimi.
Now he
That
was the ring announcer in the Bonesaw scene, right?
Yep, he's the one that calls him Spider-Man for the first
Yep.
time. He gives Spider-Man his name, and he was an usher in Spider-Man 2 that didn't let him in to see Mary Jane's play, and I know he's in Spider-Man 3, but he's a waiter. He's a waiter in Spider-Man 3 when Peter's going to like propose to Mary Jane, and he's trying to like set up the
I gotcha.
It's a very silly scene. He's Bruce Campbell's great in it. I love Bruce Campbell. I'm a fan of his. I'm a fan of some of the lesser, more obscure, terrible movies that he's been in. I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead franchise. So knowing his relationship with Sam Raimi, knowing Sam Raimi is directing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, it's not shocking that he's making a cameo in this movie. He was quoted as saying, "I did a cool scene with a character that's been beloved for years, and we'll have to see what ends up in the movie. I don't know if it's still in there. It's a pretty cool part." So a character that's been beloved for years. I don't know. And considering this is a multiverse movie, it could be any number of possibilities. It could be, Professor X, for all we know of, that we're talking about.
He's one of the Illuminati, maybe.
Oh my God! Please let Ash Williams be a member of the Illuminati.
Ash Williams is Namor the Submariner.
Still has a chainsaw.
Yeah, 100%.
Just also breathes underwater.
Yep.
Oh man, I would love that. So that'd be cool. I mean, who knows what he's playing, what he's doing. I'm sure. You know what? I'm not sure, but knowing Bruce Campbell, knowing Sam Raimi, I can't imagine that it is actually some named Marvel character that he's playing. But I can certainly see him interacting with, whether it be Doctor Strange or Scarlet Witch or somebody like that. I'm sure that he'll be hilarious in it, because he's hilarious in everything. He's Bruce Campbell, for God's sake.
Yeah, if it is a Marvel character, it's going to be like the most obscure, D-list character they can find. Yeah, that just shows up for a quick cameo and that's it.
Right. Which also, I mean, knowing the MCU doesn't mean that character won't be an A-list character 2 weeks from now.
Very
2
true.
weeks from that appearance,
Yeah, after as soon as the movie is, exactly.
He gets his own Disney Plus show. Yeah.
Oh God, Bruce Campbell just keeps coming back for more.
Yeah, love that guy. Can't get enough. Anyway, Steve, that's all I got. Unless you got something else, buddy.
No, I think that's it here.
All right,
I'd say for anyone who is listening, feel free to like, subscribe. If you're on Twitch, follow us down below. If you're watching on YouTube, give us the whole like, subscribe, ring the bell. Helps us out. If you're listening on podcast, please like, subscribe, leave us a review. Helps the algorithm, helps people find us. Beyond that, contact us at themultiversereport@gmail.com. Nope. Yep. That would be it. Themultiversereport.com. Wow, losing it here. Multiverse RPT on Twitter. You can find me at Dutch Hart. You can find Mike at Carol's Kid with a K. Other than that, I think that's a wrap this week, man.
I think that's it. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until next time, we'll see you in the multiverse.